are live. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Today, we're going over, is the U.S. ungovernable? Why is the dollar collapsing? Okay, altcoins, a little bit of altcoin overtime, a little splash, XRP, and the AI coins. And I'm going to tell you why I'm looking at the AI coins and why you should start looking at the solar eclipse coming up in October. Rock will proceed by Rectember, at least for our friends in the stock sky. Okay. Rudy, we appreciate the super sticker. Okay. How's it going? Bull Runner, welcome. Welcome to the show. We will let people try and follow in. JP Stanley is here. Welcome. Also, feel free in the comments to let you know if we're having any connection issues. I'm sure speed is okay, but it's so hot in Texas that, believe it or not, it can actually slow down the internet. Okay, we're going to start off because Rudy's been so good to me. We're going to actually start off with Gala just real quick. So Gala on a daily chart, I think you have to watch out for one final down trade. All right. It's not holding support. It's not holding resist right here. Whoops. Share screen. Okay. So I think the bottom line in Gala is this. Okay. You got maybe 2 more up days and then the big test comes. So for Gala, the test is coming. And I actually think that's true across the whole altcoin universe. Bit Freedom is here. Welcome. Choppy stream and laggy. Okay, let me take resolution down and see if that helps. Okay, let's get right into the news. I like this. Whoops. Bitcoin holds under 31K after U.S. inflation improves more than forecast. Now, here's a strange truth. Inflation is supposedly better than expected. Richard, welcome. Inflation is supposedly better than expected. The Canadians rates and said, don't expect reasonable inflation until 2025. 2025. Crypto criminals stealing much less money in 2023. Right. That's because chain analysis has taught every federal agent, right? In other words, they can teach guys with criminal justice degrees. And I'm sure these guys don't just have criminal justice degrees anymore on how to read them. Okay. So somewhere here in the mix of the news, we've got Bank of America opening up fake accounts. Bank of America opening up fake accounts. Did you know prices can be predicted by social media? So what this study finds is that when the market's going up, bullish sentiment on Twitter, bullish sentiment on Twitter, I guess, and social can be used as a forward-looking momentum indicator for prices. So when there's Mo on the way up, you listen to Twitter. Now, if you're in a P&L environment, you maybe have to think twice about that. Now, the study also found that the regular news media is an absolute fade. In other words, whatever the news media says, their comment was it's inconclusive. Okay, my comment is never listen to the media. Never listen to the media. Now, this could be why Bitcoin doesn't move. Okay, 9,800 Silk Road Bitcoin are moving. So there may be Bitcoin being sold from, say, bankruptcy proceedings, the Silk Road, whatever. Right, and I'm sure that stuff's being transferred to, hedge funds, Michael Saylor, and the like. Okay, so I think I have found a way to discuss that the United States has got problems governing itself. So there are things about, the Ukraine. There was Bud Light. There is sending weapons overseas. There's the question with our debt as to whether or not anyone wants to buy it. And then there's the sound of freedom. So this movie, I have not seen it yet, but I've seen the documentary that the movie is based on. It's about a guy who quits his job to rescue children. And as I understand it, this movie is being attacked as right-wing propaganda, okay? That's not true. And if it is true, the United States is not a governable country, and that should be reflected in the value of the dollar. So the end of the United States or the fall of Rome, although that may be possible come September, but the reality, right? I keep talking about this, is reality reflected in markets? Okay, not yet. And that's good, because when reality is fully reflected, then the trade's over. Okay, now, if the United States is not a governable country anymore, we are going to get the World Economic Forum, okay, and he wants to use digital cash can be used to block citizens buying less desirable items. So some of those less desirable items are, certain forms of content on the internet. Some of them relate to self-defense. That's interesting. And then this has been praised for bluntly the benefits of digital money include the programmability of citizens. The programmability. So let me ask you this. Are you programmable? And what happens if there's an error code? This is like the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report. Thought crime. Okay? You go to a store, you look at something, you buy, maybe they can get you if you even look at it. Okay? Now, what is this for? Well, it's got to make the case for dollar. And if it makes the case for lower dollar, because if they're talking about getting, this is not a conspiracy theory, folks. 3 years ago, we talked about the ability of American citizens or any citizens. They're even like, okay, that's Newsmax. You know what I'm saying? That's fringe stuff. These guys are openly talking about it in the media. So why is the dollar down? Because we're not governable. This would never dare be on the in certain administrations. Not there beyond the tape. You're going to program our citizens dollar lower. Gold. Everyone thinks the Chinese currency is the world's reserve currency. I disagree. The gold trade hasn't even started yet. Yes, gold has been held down by the idea of higher rates, but if you have a Fed that can't raise rates 500 basis points, they will raise rates, but not that much, and you have persistent inflation, then it's gold and silver. And the technicals on that, which I'll bring up and go over again, especially the Elliott wave that we talked about today, right, earlier in the Gold Retriever webinar. Gold and silver. And then, of course, there's crypto. And don't forget, crypto follows gold and silver. Now, I'm going to Bloomberg here to talk about something related to my old employer. And this is very much about what could become in October. Goldman doesn't have to do what's called pre-announce, okay? That means if their earnings are so bad, normally they have to go out and say, hey, our earnings are so bad, we think you should tell you about it in advance. Now, what's highlighted here is that Goldman has written down, they've marked down their real estate book, and they're going to mark down their Green Sky lending program, okay, which is their botched attempt into the Apple credit card and consumer banking. Okay, it's practically a pre-announcement of earnings without calling it that. Now, why is Goldman simply saying, you know what? It's going to take all of our assets and write it down. Why they do it? Well, one, because they were probably equities on the way up and got smoked. Two, they don't want to have to do this in October, right? They don't want to do this in front of a solar eclipse that's probably going to wreck the market. They probably want to try to get as much bad news as they can out there now and hope catch the down move, right? Just get rid of everything so that there's gigantic surprise in case it gets worse, and lower expectations so maybe they can make some of it back on trading revenue. This, to me, is telling you to just GTFO. Exactly. Rudy says they're scared. They are. These guys, I understand, we can vilify them. The CEO doing well. Okay. It's been a long time since okay. It's definitely not the Goldman of old, but they're not stupid. Okay. They're not stupid. And they are telling you what is going to go on in October. Stable coins pose existential threat to policy sovereignty. Who should be sovereign? I guess countries should be sovereign, but what about the sovereign man? As one guy I work with calls his blog. Who's sovereign? Are you sovereign? Am I sovereign? Are you sovereign enough? Okay. Are you sovereign enough? BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF application takes surveillance to the next level. Okay, they're going to need the personal information, your customer's name and address. Also, let me know if the stream is still coming through. I'm getting some warnings here. This isn't the only warning. Okay, why is gold higher? Bank of America accused of opening fake accounts and charging illegal junk fees. Is it Bank of America's corporate office doing that? Or is it incentives that are created that can't be met by underlying supervisors and people at the branch level? Yeah, sure, the guys up at the top set the standards, but the guys who are cheating are the guys who are under pressure. These are the guys who are in control of the financial system. Their employees are pressured to the point where they cheat. Now, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm not making excuses for anybody. But I don't know after FTX that crypto can say, oh, well, we're better than you. Okay. But cheating does go on in legacy. And I don't know that we want institutions in charge of crypto. As a matter of fact, long Bitcoin, short the banks. There's never been a better example. There has never been a better example. Okay. Standard Chartered boosts its 24 forecast to 100,000. I actually think that's conservative. That is conservative because MicroStrategy can lead Bitcoin development. I've said this over and over and over again. Tim Draper, Bitcoin can reach 250K. He said that for this year. He may be a couple of too early. Now, let's go back to the United States before we go to the charts. So, the Russians are trying to do what they can here with the digital ruble. I think these guys may be under so much pressure that, something would happen over there. And if not, all right, Putin may be forced to sue for peace. In other words, he has two choices. He can get more aggressive or he can throw out. I'm kind of leaning towards him being more aggressive. I still think the event is in the Middle East. Now, let's go to the PowerPoint. Okay, this is your market update. Stocks. Let's about it. The reason I think Bitcoin just can't go down, right, is because people are moving money out of stocks and into crypto. This whole idea that inflation is cooling off is just algos reading the CPI report and buying off a better than expected number or whatever. It's just algo trading. The reality is stocks are headed for both a pivot and a regression top, ironically, at a Gann level of 245 for the high in S&P. It's time to get off the equity market AI train and get on the decentralized AI train. We'll come in our altcoin overtime. In our mini altcoin overtime. 13 top SPY. Good news, bad news. Good news is this is probably a blow off top. Crypto should hold, right? As the blow off top occurs, right? As the blow off top unfolds, money should find its way to crypto. Once this blow off top starts, once this blow off top ends, you're probably going to get a correction in all assets, including crypto. In other words, I have been laying away going, oh, I'm going to miss it. God, I'm going to miss it. Oh my God, I'm going to miss it. Okay. With this, I don't think I'm going to miss it. And I think regardless, where he's going to be in 6 months or a year, where's crypto going to be in 6 months or a year? Okay. The AI narrative can only drive equities so far before this thing kind of turns over. Now, the dollar. Where's the bottom? You know, Bitcoin up is Bitcoin is the orange line. Bitcoin up, dollar down. Okay. Bitcoin up, dollar down. Bitcoin up, dollar potentially massively down. Things happen in threes. Okay. Like this is a Bitcoin uptrend since FTX, this orange line, and the dollar, the DXY should go to 95. It should go to 95. I mean, I actually saw on Bloomberg like 2 weeks ago that said hedge funds are unwinding their long dollar trade. I can't believe anybody in the dollar. Now, I know you've heard this from me. The trade just started. The minor trade in equities just started. The longer these hold up, the bigger the rally gold miners. We'll look at that in a second. Now, one of the reasons I think the dollar is like telling you something very powerful is like people would prefer the yen. So the dollar is going up versus the yen. I don't have the plot on here, but equities have done well, right? If the Japanese are printing money, they pump money into the system. It doesn't matter how much we tighten. If they're pumping and printing, equities go up. But everybody is in a very, very, very big to get out of and get into the yen. Okay? When that happens, that's bearish equities. There's bearish equities. Now, GDX, this big cap gold mining stocks, in my opinion, this is a breakaway gap. There are a couple different kinds of gaps, like exhaustion gaps. You see at the top. Okay, this down here was a breakaway gap in GDX, and boom. This is a breakaway gap in gold mining stocks. Right? Everyone's talking about what's the reserve currency. Got to be gold. Now, interest rates, a mixed bag. So you have the 10-year note yield, you break out of a triangle. Now you're doing a violent return move because the inflation data looks normal. Now, if they break back inside the trend line, that's going to be great for Bitcoin. If this holds the trend line, you know, interest rates could go up a lot because the triangle target is 4.5%. That's a nice way of saying you're going to find out in a couple of days whether or not bonds are going to put the sort of the lid on temporarily. In other words, you're probably wondering, it's like, hey, Bitcoin not moving. I think they're afraid of this formation. They're afraid of what happens if long-term interest rates go up 75 basis points. They're afraid. I personally think, like I said, U.S. ungovernable. Bond market, no good. Stock market, no good. Currency, no good. Right? You look at the thumbnail for today's presentation done by the Eagle King, who, by the way, it's his birthday this week. You should also be following him on Threads, where he is just lighting it up like his business. Okay? People don't want American assets. It looks like they do, but when Eagle King drew a thumbnail of the bald eagle picking up the Bitcoin, right? The bald eagle picks up Bitcoin. Nowhere is it apparent that some of these stocks are in trouble. Okay, great. Enough of the disaster porn. Where do you go with your money? Potentially is a trade, especially if Bitcoin doesn't do anything. What about switching? What about a switch? Okay. What about a switch from AI done in equities to AI done in crypto? In other words, it's like, all right, Bitcoin goes sideways, equities are topping, bonds are stable. Let's pretend that's the environment. What do you do? Well, I mean, Fetch.ai had a 9 bottom, started a downtrend, and then seemed to continue. Right? Seemed to continue a higher. So sometimes when you get a 9 signal and then the trend is interrupted, the downtrend on a 4, and it starts to go the other way, this might be worth a look. In other words, everyone likes buying altcoins when it's going up, right? I get that. I'm okay with that, but not in a P&L destruction environment. Not when equities are topping, right? I mean, Bitcoin should be up 5% today based on the move on the dollar, and it's not. So maybe Bitcoin's going to hang out, and maybe there's room to do this AI trade somewhere else. Okay, I'm looking at AGIX. So you can't really see it on the screen here, but this is a 4. And frequently when you start a trend in DeMark, each one of these little numbers represents a set of conditions, right? So the high is higher than the high 4 days ago. Okay, now it'll go from 1 through 9, right? The conditions will be true for 9 bars. And if you're going to buy the dip, all right, if you want to jump on the trend, you buy the dip on the 4th bar. AGIX wicks up, looks terrible, right? Well, it's still green. It's a 4-hour chart. You know, I like buying stuff when it's down in a P&L destruction environment. This way you can put a stop in, and if you're wrong, so what? Instead of FOMOing in at the top. Okay, the graph sitting on a pair of DeMark moving averages. Now, is this particularly exciting? You know, it's not doing anything, but this could be a shoulder, this could be a head, and this could be a shoulder. So it would be pretty funny if, you know, there's a switch in the AI narrative. Okay? XRP. So before we get to XRP, let's welcome Rung again, letting us know that AGIX has a token unlock coming. Okay, that's interesting. Don't Ask 6 is here from Oklahoma. Pancakes and peanut butter, right? A particular favorite of Toby's. Welcome. Okay. Rung again says, what's J Powell going to do? You know, he's going to hike rates and watch gold go up anyway. Okay. Laughing Dolphin says the world is melting. Jeff is here. Aiken is also here with TBA. Welcome. Thomas, Illuminatics, Bit Freedom TV. Okay. He is not closing his silver long. I don't blame him. So XRP, 47, 46 cents. Quiet range. All's quiet on the XRP front. Coinbase is in court with the SEC. Coinbase is in court with the SEC. Going to be very interesting to see what happens. Going to be interesting to see what happens if the courts start to push back against the government. In other words, one of the good things about the America being ungovernable, like that judge from Missouri who said the federal government can't go into social media and do censorship. I'm wondering what happens to crypto at some point in the fall if XRP wins, if Coinbase wins, and if Binance pays a fine and they go away. And they have to go away because it becomes a presidential campaign issue. What happens if RFK is on his own and doing well? What happens if RFK becomes a running mate to a former president? I don't necessarily see that, but I mean, who's going to talk smack about crypto with that happening? Now, QNT, another test for altcoins. So QNT doesn't have any momentum to the upside. QNT is getting sold on every rally, but you have a 13 and a 9 bottom here. So if you get a failed rally in QNT, then probably altcoins are going lower. But you do have a shot at a bottom here. Like, I like buying stuff when it's down. Like, you had a 9 bottom here in QNT, and they slammed it down before they ripped it up. Like, I don't want to buy QNT, or I don't want to buy anything on green candles, but I don't mind buying something, on like, when no one likes it, because you can like define where your stop is. Okay, so let's talk about Bitcoin dominance and ETH. Let's talk about ETH. Bitcoin dominance here went up. Then it went sideways for 80 days. Now, I know I've showed this before, but, imagine if you got another 30 to 45 days of Bitcoin basically doing nothing. So that could mean altcoins get smacked. I'm not sure that's fresh information. I'm not sure it is. Because I think we should know at this point that, any really risky asset, can get killed, especially if stocks top. But if the market continues to go sideways, then instead of a crypto market, you could have a market of cryptos. This is Bitcoin. This is ETH versus Bitcoin. Excuse me. There's a 13 bottom there, but you can't get a confirmed bottom. Like, every time ETH tries to go up relative to Bitcoin, it stalls. Now, ETH's doing pretty good today, and of course, that makes sense. Why? Because ETH and metals move together. ETH and metals move together. So I'm clearly expecting massive upside in metals, and I got to think you're going to expect some upside in ETH, which is why I'm kind of doing a rare thing of like saying, all right, what altcoins are interesting? They're done trading AI elsewhere. So we have a super chat from Richard. UPST Bank bank reversed and feels like it reflects the entire market. Can you look? Yes, of course. Okay, so let me do that right now. Share screen. Okay, I don't seem to have USPT unless I saw it wrong. Let me see if I can find the super chat in the comments. You may have to put it in again because I missed the symbol. UPST. Thank you. Okay, so very interesting chart, right? So let's talk about what's happening here. You have this regression band, and then you get this kind of blow off top above it. Let's go to the DeMark work. Okay, so this is kind of classic, right? You have a 13, maybe a little slide, but then you have the 13 and the 9. And this is this thing where it counts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it fails on the 4, then you have a top. You have a top. Now, I don't know if I can draw anything, you know, there's not a ton of history here. Let me see if I can go to an 89-minute chart. There you go. So this is like how to figure it out on the fly. So hidden pivot analysis from the Memorial Day bottom. Okay, it goes up, it corrects. The top should be 44.57. And it appears the market is respecting that. Right? I mean, I'm looking at the bank stocks. If we're going to look at the bank stocks, we might as well look at them. Right? You know, I don't know that I would have drawn that, so I appreciate Richard Barry bringing that up. You know, BKX is the same thing, right? It's like S&P. You know, it's got a little bit to go before it tops. So if they FOMO in and they start buying these banks, I don't know. You know, Schwab is something else I would look at. Okay, you know, Schwab has got quite a ways to go until it gets to like an equivalent hidden pivot level. You know, interesting that Schwab stopped at 58.43. That's not the greatest hidden pivot analysis ever. I'm done with equities. I'm done. And the great thing about equities topping is, you know, that's the dawn of crypto in October. You know, that means a massive rally in December. And if you had to hedge a whole crypto book with VIX where it is, let's just say I tweeted that, you know, October put options and November put options. You got a solar eclipse on October 14th. And I wouldn't be shocked if the equities decline started before that. There's just no way. There's no way. I mean, the Bank of Canada single-handedly shut down this rally today off CPI. They use CPI as a cover to hike rates. Okay? And that is the market update. All right. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Wrong again says the more you tighten your grip, as in the SEC, the more coins and tokens will slip through your fingers. Princess Leia Organa. Star Wars 101. Okay. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the world of commodities. I promise to look at gold and silver because this is a very relevant thing for ETH. Okay. So here's silver on a weekly chart. Okay. So this goes back to 2020. Okay. This goes back to 2020. I'm going to try to increase resolution for this chart. Okay. So silver on a weekly chart. 2020, the up move begins. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, you got a lot of gratification being long silver. Then silver goes into this epic 4 wave, which is very typical. A square triangular box that just torments everybody. This is awful. Then silver does it again. It breaks out and goes through another consolidation phase. So in silver, what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we should have a 5 wave move. So the move should be very emotional. And we have a 3 wave that should start inside the 5 wave. What does a 3 wave give you? Very impulsive price action, like, oh, I'll buy the dip. Oh, no. And it goes, whoa. Okay. Don't quote me on that. Little sound effects action. Okay. So we should have a impulsive, emotional move up in silver. Okay. And I got to think ETH follows that, right? I just got to think ETH follows it. I mean, if you look at it this way, I mean, I don't like buying green candles in altcoins, but what is going to happen in silver when they take out that resistance? Forget about it, right? There's nobody home until you get up here. Now, even if Dennis doesn't want to do silver, and that's cool, right? But, you got to start thinking about ETH, and you got to start thinking about what happens when this goes through 100, right? I mean, that's going to be a Bloomberg headline. Now, you probably want to cover your dollar shorts if you're like a day trader at that point, but like this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And the beautiful thing is they're still giving you the opportunity to buy crypto. Like Galaxy Digital has exploded. It has exploded. It exploded to a hidden pivot target at 668 and may come off, right? It may fill this gap over here just below 6. Good, right? In other words, this becomes a dip buying game. Now, people have been asking me about it inside the community, so I might as well talk about it here as well. So I work for a company called Merging Asset Group. We have a water trading product. We're connected to the gold market based on the reward that this token pays. We're developing our own gold token, and Block 47, New York's Diamond District on chain, is open and on Instagram and Threads. So we are an alternative assets company, and currently everyone is giving up on our token. Very interesting that we're headed for a solar eclipse, gold and silver rampaging, yet sellers abound. Okay? Sellers abound. What is going to happen in real assets, which includes our token, our company that I work for? I own this. What is going to happen to Bitcoin? What is going to happen to Ethereum? When what? When what? When people realize that paper assets are fake. GLDN is an excuse. Yeah, we can talk about GLDN and the fact that this downward sloping wedge, in a book, it would be called a bullish downward sloping wedge because they're just forcing it down. And when they let go, it springs up. And then, of course, you got, a much bigger downward sloping wedge if you look at a one-day chart. And even if you don't like this or you don't believe this, right? You don't like the fact that our CTO is mind your biz, right? So a small downward sloping wedge inside of a big one. Paper assets are fake. Okay? Yes, to buy GLDN, you have to set your slippage very high on Uniswap. But this is not investment advice. I own this token. I'm only bringing it up on this stream because you got to start asking yourself about buying the dip in real assets. Okay? The United States and even Europe, right? They're not governable countries. And then there's this. Kathy Wood gives up on crypto and is forced to liquidate 12 million Coinbase shares, most likely because of the regulatory risk. Now, don't be surprised if she rotates into MicroStrategy, but I have no idea why anybody's given up on Coinbase. Okay. And Dennis is like, look at the Bitcoin mining companies. Exactly, man. Exactly. Right? I mean, yes, this topped. This was overdone. Okay. Now, it could also be a retest of this prior high. But in a way, in a way, you're kind of hoping that this comes down, really, right? Crypto is looking for any type of down trade. Now, I will tell you this about HUT. Let me see if I can pull this up on DeMark. I haven't even tried that. Okay, so we'll do HUT. Okay, so, you know, on the daily chart, you're kind of getting close to top-ish. On a weekly chart, you have a 9 top, which means that this week or next week should be some form of a pullback. Thank God, right? MicroStrategy. I don't know why I never thought to do DeMark work on this. So the MicroStrategy on the weekly chart, you're only at a 6, and you've got resistance at 417. I'm guessing when Cathie Wood rotates out of Coinbase, that she's going to rotate into MicroStrategy. Now, normally when you get a 9 top, you get some sort of counter trend move. So you might get a big down day in MicroStrategy. Now, God forbid, this little crappy red candle is your down tick, right? In other words, you should get one tomorrow, but you know what? If you don't get in Michael Saylor's way. Don't. MicroStrategy can see substantial gains from Bitcoin's next halving. Okay. MicroStrategy is going to have to refinance its debt maturities, most likely at much higher rates. Michael Saylor, I know, borrowed money basically at 0 to buy Bitcoin. They're a highly leveraged company. But if he's successful in refinancing his obligations, right, what's he going to do? Do you think Michael Saylor cares if he's got to pay 8% for money with what is probably going to happen with Bitcoin? I mean, seriously. You know, if you go over here, we can look at THX. Okay, I'm not sure if that's crypto or equities. Okay, not getting much of a chart there. Okay, here's Marathon Digital. So Marathon Digital is pretty leveraged, but this trend, I mean, I don't have much of sign of exhaustion here, maybe in 4 days. And you got 3 more weeks of upside in Marathon, and look where this thing was. It was at 75, and it's now at 17, right? And then you look at this, and you're like, the top of the previous 4th wave in Marathon Digital is at 1890. So what's a 4th wave? Well, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is where the give up trade starts from. Frequently, when you have corrections the other way, you retest where the give up trade started from. So 1890 is the level that Marathon may get to. Also, if Marathon fails at the previous 4th wave, that could be a sign that, you know, the downtrend has not ended yet, and you could get some sort of correction. But if you look at this, you know, you could have 3 more up weeks in Marathon. Okay. Vanguard just bought a bunch of Riot. Pancakes and Peanut Butter says buy whatever red you can get. And that may be the case. That may be the case where you got to get your hands on whatever it is you can in crypto while you can. Now, you're going to have probably a broader top in equities at some point in August. Okay. Hink is asking for Solana. Okay. Now, the funny thing about Solana is the DeMark work on the weekly is just starting. So I know a big venture capital may be doing an unlock here. You've got substantial technical level at 22. Okay. You know, this venture capital firm that owns all this Solana that has it to sell, they may pump it before they have to sell it. I mean, if I owned Solana, I would just leave it. But there's going to be a big seller in here, I think, at some point. And you got a lot of resistance over here. My theory on altcoins is to buy stuff when it's down. Shizzy is here. Please hit the like button. Yes. Hit the like button. Also, okay, so THX, are we talking about Thor explorations, Dennis? Let me know, all right, because that's what I got over here in crypto. Okay, so this is a thinly traded THX network. Okay, again, like many altcoins, we don't exactly know what this means. What I suspect it means is that it doesn't have that upside oomph to get going, right? Now, can altcoins get going as a group? I would think that ETH is going to eat altcoin lunch. Now, A0, this is interesting coming from Rudy. Okay, so this is nice, right? You got 13 bottom, and this is starting to react, right, the other way, taking out a DeMark moving average. Like, you know, and you have a 9 bottom here on the weekly. You know, I'm interested in altcoins that are interesting when they're just beat up. Like, I know it's easy to kind of go with the Mo. I know that, you know, Solana looks great, but I'm kind of more interested in quality stuff because if Bitcoin dominance goes sideways, some of this stuff might actually wake up, right? All right, Dennis, leave a comment down below and I will find out what symbol you are talking about. I want to help you. All right. Okay, CLSK. You're going to have a 9 top at resistance at 706. He says, are ordinals and BRC20s a good buy right now? Bitcoin goes up, they should fly. Okay. This thing with BRC20s reminds me of a joke that a guy from Unchained Capital made way back when it wasn't fashionable to say it. He said DeFi doesn't exist because it doesn't exist on Bitcoin. If they get DeFi going on Bitcoin with BRC20s and the fact that NFTs have crashed, like the simple fact of the matter is NFTs on ETH as an experiment overall probably failed and everyone lost money just like in altcoins. Now, art and stocks are not correlated. Stocks went up, art went down. But if there's a future of art and DeFi, I just got to think it's on Bitcoin, right? It's going to be like a combination of both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because, you know, art is going to become more and more valuable. And if they can have this rare Satoshis thing going on in Bitcoin, it's almost like getting Bitcoin into like meme coin mania. Okay, Aave has resistance up here at 84.80. Okay, G Money wants to scoop up more QNT. Okay, I think that's interesting, honestly. Okay, Wrong Again thinks, you know, Aave is ready to go. Okay, now here's how you'll know. So every time Aave goes up, obviously these wicks indicate, you know, there's a seller, 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 right? And then the way these things work is if it's ready to go, they exhaust themselves, right? If there's a problem with the banks, it could be very interesting to see what does actually show up on DeFi. You also have to remember the SEC may take one last shot at these tokens. So, that may be why people are getting out. But what you want to look for is exhausted sellers. In other words, they've been dumping it, but it's not going down. Like if you look at a 4-hour chart, right? So you got the 13 and then you got the 9 top. Now, if Aave is really going to go up, you should see a bid start coming in basically now. Otherwise, this is just like a range that it's stuck in. Crypto Crazy is here. Welcome. Okay. Does GAN apply to total crypto market cap? Is new money coming in or moving from one project to another? Okay. You can apply GAN to total crypto market cap. I have not done so. Okay. But I will look at it. Okay. Okay. Now, somebody wants to know, when will GLDN bottom? Okay. Okay. I'm showing 27 cents even, right? You draw this just under 27 cents, 26.84. Right? Obviously, somebody is giving up here. And it goes up when they're done giving up. I mean, you have to remember what they did to Amazon in 2000. You have to remember what the fundamentals are of hard assets. And as people just pack it in, especially with gold and silver rallying. I mean, someone is selling this down here and then they're going to turn around and wake up and the world's going to want hard assets. So I'm showing 26.84 or when whoever is selling is done. Okay, the chain link of Bitcoin, track. Okay, so very interesting, right? 13, 9 bottom, selling climax, right? And then you're sitting on all the DeMark moving averages. So this could be bird on a wire getting ready to fly. Again, if you have a market of instead of a crypto market, you have a market of crypto. Okay. Some of these things may do well, but it may only be for like 1 or 2 days. A lot of people want alt season to kick off. I don't see that. I can see ETH at 2,000. I can see gold going much higher. But again, you have to be careful because at some point you're going to get flushed out with stocks. Okay. Okay. Somebody's talking about Arbitrum. I know these ETH scaling solutions are, a pretty popular topic. I mean, the problem with a lot of these altcoins is that they've gone sideways in the middle of a range. I mean, unfortunately, with stuff like this, you want to buy this move if you get it, right? You don't want to go getting long stuff for the sake of getting long. Okay, let me see if I can find track. Okay, so this is track from Gate.io. Okay, so now I got the right symbol for Rudy. Well, man, like I said, whatever this is, they obviously want it. Let me see if I can do a hidden pivot target. Yeah, I mean, it's beyond anything that I could draw. So most likely, again, I don't really like buying stuff on green at resistance. I don't think this trade is over, right? It probably isn't. But I'm always careful about hype trade. Driftless is here. ETH scaling is a flooded space. Most will die. Right. You know, not a big fan of Matic. I know corporations are using that. Okay, so let's sum this up. Hard assets have a future, right? If some central banks have to raise rates, some central banks have to slow down, it's telling you inflation will be persistent. Equities are overdone. The end of equities is coming, and the beginning of crypto is already here. That's good and bad because now you've got to manage the top in equities, and then you got to figure out how to buy the dip in crypto and in Bitcoin miners. Okay, if you trade an altcoin, trade a theme, trade AI, buy something that's down, don't FOMO into something that's up. Remember that study, right? It said you can trade with bullish sentiment when the market is in a momentum phase. The market isn't in a momentum phase. It's in a P&L destruction phase. Okay, Rudy, thanks everybody for being here. I will see you next time.